Margaret Windsor, and I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married at Childers. Both twins were murdered by their mother. They were born out of wedlock. And as far as I know, they brought me in at Cortland Air Base. It had just been built. It was really remote back then, and it was a pigsty, and people who were so cruel to me. It's unreal. But anyway, what I wanted to say on this, when I found out my real name in 83, I had been in a political campaign to replace a doctor I'd written about, a U.S. Congressman, Larry McDonald from Piedmont Hospital. He was a urologist in Atlanta. There were murders that happened there, the murders of Dr. Warren and Rosina Matthews, forensic pathologists, and they fit into the patterns. I wrote about that, and I wrote about mind control in a book, and it was unpublished. I also wrote about Jean Srokerman, and she was shot dead up against by the Christmas tree, I think in 76, and Hardiman, Dr. Hardiman, a psychiatrist, it was in his office. She worked for him, and she was suing a psychiatrist for, I believe it was for rape. I know it was. And my way that I got her deposition and all that was through my attorney, Eugene Kaiser, who was a former DA, Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. And the doctor, he's psychiatrist and head of psychiatry at Emory, and he was head of law, was the decent, good man who was murdered. They made it look like it was murder. That's one reason Warren and Rosina Matthews were killed, because they knew how murders were made to look like they just died of natural cause. So Dr. Jonas Robitzer at Emory that sent Gene to Srokerman to Gene Kaiser, my attorney, and she was killed in Hardiman's office. There's all kinds of connections in there, so I'm going to skip. And he was a beautiful man, and the last book he wrote, I believe, was The Power of Psychiatry, and he listed in his last chapter 10 of the cases I had in my book, and a beautiful man. And The Power of Psychiatry is very true. People ignore it. They rush real quick to the doctor to get their kids, especially after the shootings, the Sandy Hook and all those. Sandy Hook and the Tucson, Arizona, Gabby Gifford, Aurora, Colorado, those are mind control murders. And the power of psychiatry and mind control is boggling. Mind control has nothing to do with psychiatry. And sometimes if you get the gist of how it's all done, you wonder how many people are really mentally ill. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. You have to stop the programming of the person. And that's what I wrote about, programming people to modify their behavior, to make them, give them commands, program them to shoot or kill. Any kind of run the car off into the lake and drown, have cancer, or they can make you develop that and make it look of natural cause. Or take a plane down, the pilot or the controllers, because they're placed under mind control. So I was writing about this, and Larry Flint was shot while I was writing about it in Lawrenceville, Georgia, where he was shot near Marietta. And I was living there at Moonraker Apartments, and the title of it was MD, A License to Kill. The manuscript never got, and here is what I'm getting to on this tape. And I'm not bringing out any of my pictures or Hustler magazine where Larry Flynn endorsed me and even said that I knew who was responsible for his shooting, and he said that in the endorsement. I've got that on others, but Mr. Flint was shot March the 6th of 78, and I had a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. Well, I found out later my real name, that I'd been kidnapped and given the name of the twin and all. I found out this, and it made perfect sense. But anyway, that's what Mr. Flint said when I came out there during the campaign, October twice, in August. It was August 31st when Larry McDonald's plane, that passenger plane, KAL, was shot down by the Soviets, and all aboard died. It was en route from Juneau to Seoul, South Korea. First thing, and I never met him, Mr. Flint. I just knew he was shot there, and I knew that the man who shot him was programmed because it fit in the patterns. And that can be proven because mind control is invisible. You can't prove it normally. So you wonder how many people and how long it's been used, and it's so advanced now, corporations use it. And anyway, Mr. Flint, the first thing he said to me, he said a limo driver brought me and said, from the airport, and he said, I don't know why they called me tonight to come pick you up. He said, please give my card to Mr. Flint because I have never been able to get through to him since his shooting. And he said he was one of my best friends. So anyway, I went there and went to his home in Bel Air at the time. And first thing Mr. Flint said to me, and this is the point, and this one I'm getting to at the moment, he said they were going to send, he said, you don't have to tell me anything about yourself. I know everything there is to know. They were going to send you back a vegetable. Well, so he knew about the antifreeze he had given me, April Fool Day of 80, after doing the book and getting the letter from the U.S. Attorney and FBI. And I should have died, gone into a coma and kidney failure and died. So, and he knew about, I didn't know it at the time. He said, send me back. And I found out a few months later what he meant by that, send me back to England. They'd kidnapped me, and they had all they needed out of me, so send me back a vegetable. So now that I want to get to this point, I only, last night I Googled, I didn't know I couldn't, I didn't really have any reason, because the only way is really if there's a God, and He punishes all these people. And it's been a trip down the road with every crime being committed against me and my sons and my mom and dad and my country. And so many of them are dead, and nobody's been held accountable. In fact, most of these people have all lived very well. So I wanted to get to this point on this one. My ex-husband came back to live after I had rented an apartment, okay. Now, I named my security deposit at Laurelwood. I moved from Moonraker to Laurelwood May the 8th of 79. Antifreeze put in the April Fool Day of 80. So I moved in, and things started happening to Laurelwood Apartments off Bentley Road, Marietta. Things started happening to my kids. They were already happening, and I thought moving there might help. Well, my ex-husband came back, and he was on the road all the time, so he wasn't there that much. I took him up to the office and told them that he had come back sporadically just to kind of look after me and the boys, that we were divorced, and in no way was he going to stay there, and his name was not on the lease. I'd already had it and paid the deposit and moved in when he came in a little later, sporadically. So there was never any misunderstanding. The thing was that the manager told me that her uncle was an FBI agent that was in charge of the Patty Hearst. So you can get into mind control there, and the Hearst, as in Hearst Castle and news and all that, was part of the orchestration of the Illuminati, the Freemasons that helped kidnap me, which was Joe Kennedy was ambassador then, the Kennedys, JFK. So they helped in my kidnapping and taking down my father with the Jews, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, the Bilderbergers. My own uncle, the illegal George VI, helped force out my father, put a 99-year seal, and kidnap me, Victoria II. Now I'm going to get, my father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, an American sister to artist George O'Keeffe. So you see, history has never corrected it, and the media won't touch it, and especially when you throw in the mind control murders, a weapon. So now I want to get to this if I've got time, and I don't.